I think I'm like her in the sense that we don't indulge in the gossip. We don't listen to what people say about us. You just have to turn a blind eye to it. People are going to talk, and you can't be hurt by that. You can't listen to that. And she's really striving. These days, I live my whole life. It's easier to fall into that, like talking about someone else and when you stick up for someone, you're going out on a limb when a whole group is making fun of someone. But I've really tried to have some honor in my life.
The social pressures were there, but I never felt like I belonged, which is something that I still struggle with, and I think has become one of the greatest blessings in disguise. Like I felt like an outsider. Like I would walk into a party, and I would want to fit in.
Allowing Blake to take discovery in order to uncover the alleged lengths, if any, that Baldoni's side may have gone to in working with notable anti-Blake content creators as part of the alleged smear campaign.
Blake Lively's courtroom drama has officially gone off the rails, and this latest move could end up doing more harm than good. In a surprising legal twist, Blake has filed a second amended complaint in her ongoing lawsuit, seemingly trying to patch up jurisdictional problems that previously got Jed Wallace tossed from the case. But here's the kicker. By doing this, she may have just given her opponents a brand new weapon to use against her.
Nothing against, like, I love a good hysterical female song, but not like hysterical in like a charged, great, empowered way. It's just like, you know what I mean? You know that sound
It's
that's
not
like
cheesy.
a little,
It's not cheesy.
And anyways, women are people of multitudes. And, I think that it was important to me that it didn't just feel like someone's interpretation of like male gaze. Like it really was, this is what we like. This is what we listen to. This is what makes us feel these vibes.
Wayfair and the other defendants now have the green light to file fresh motions to dismiss, which could wipe out huge portions of her claims before this even gets near a trial. Think about that. Months of legal wrangling, subpoenas, and public drama, only for it all to be undone with a single motion.
He gave Blake yet another victory, basically allowing her to decide where she would be deposed, that she can be deposed at her attorney's office. Now, Baldoni's attorneys are arguing this is her using her celebrity status yet again to get her way, but the judge ultimately ruled in her favor. Now,
this isn't just a procedural step, it's a major strategic gamble that could backfire spectacularly. And if you think Blake's opponents are going to sit quietly while she rewrites her narrative, think again. They're already preparing their counterattack, and from the looks of it, they're coming in swinging. So what exactly did Blake add, and why are critics calling it embarrassing?
I am also just like everybody else in the sense that I take on more than I can chew. I overcommit. I say yes to things out of fear. I people please.
To understand the chaos, let's rewind. Blake Lively has been waging an ugly legal war against Wayfair, Jed Wallace, and others, claiming retaliation, harassment, and conspiracy linked to her involvement in the film It Ends With Us. She says she was wronged, publicly humiliated, and systematically targeted. But the defendants say this is nothing more than a celebrity using the courts to rewrite her image.
this just in, a big loss for Blake Lively, as the judge has dismissed one of the defendants from her lawsuit. But it does come with a catch. Also, a Hollywood icon is sticking up for Justin Baldoni.
Things got particularly heated when Blake's legal team subpoenaed over 100 content creators, dragging YouTubers, TikTokers, and journalists into this mess. It wasn't just about the lawsuit anymore, it became a public spectacle. And while the first amended complaint already got hammered by the court, with key parts thrown out and Wallace dismissed from the case, Blake is now doubling down with her second amended complaint. Her new filing claims Wallace and others had more connections to New York than the court previously acknowledged. But here's the problem. Much of what she's added was already dismissed once, and some of it feels like a desperate attempt to stretch the law. This isn't just about proving a case anymore, it's about salvaging a narrative.
That Perez Hilton, Candace Owens, and Andy Senior have all been subpoenaed to turn over any and all communications with Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer parties. The subpoenas may be connected to the judge's order earlier this month.
One of the most jaw-dropping parts of Blake's amended complaint, her attempt to use Instagram posts as proof of jurisdiction. Yes, really. According to her legal team, because Wallace allegedly monitored or passively analyzed her social media activity while she was promoting the film in New York, that somehow gives the court jurisdiction over him. Think about what that means. Simply observing her public posts could now be framed as a legal connection to New York. This argument isn't just shaky, it's chilling. If courts accepted this logic, anyone interacting with a public figure online could potentially face lawsuits in that celebrity's home state. Even the judge previously warned that similar claims didn't meet the legal bar for proving conspiracy or jurisdiction. And yet, Blake's new complaint rehashes these same points, trying to spin social media activity into hard legal evidence. For many watching this case, this feels less like a strong legal strategy and more like a shot in the dark, grasping for anything that sticks. It's the kind of argument that leaves critics wondering, is this really about justice, or is it about control over public perception? While Blake tries to expand her claims, the defendants aren't playing along. Wayfair and others now have an opening to strike back with motions to dismiss or even pursue summary judgment, which could end large portions of this case before it gains momentum. Legal experts note that several of Blake's retaliation claims appear time-barred, meaning she missed critical deadlines to bring them forward. Others argue she failed to exhaust required administrative steps with agencies like the EEOC, which could make those claims dead on arrival. This isn't just procedural nitpicking, it's a full-on legal takedown. If the court agrees, Blake could lose entire claims permanently with prejudice, meaning they're gone for good. That's a devastating blow for someone banking on these allegations to bolster her case. And let's be honest, if Wayfair can gut her complaint this early, they won't just walk away clean. They'll do it with a legal victory that reframes Blake as the one pushing a baseless, headline-grabbing fight. This isn't just about winning in court, it's about dismantling her credibility in the process. As if things couldn't get worse for Blake, newly surfaced text messages are poking holes in her narrative. These messages reportedly show behind-the-scenes conversations between editors and industry insiders discussing Blake's 17-point agreement, which gave her expanded control over the film. Here's where it gets messy. While Blake publicly dismissed this agreement as irrelevant to her harassment claims, the texts suggest otherwise. They show that she gained editorial power over certain scenes, including decisions about sexual content, after raising concerns about feeling unsafe. One editor even called it a Blake call, implying she had final say over specific edits. Critics argue this looks less like a harassment victim fighting for safety and more like a star using legal leverage to assert creative control. If that's true, it undercuts one of Blake's key claims, that her agreements had nothing to do with shaping the film. Instead, it paints a picture of a celebrity using serious allegations to gain influence over production. This revelation isn't just embarrassing, it's potentially devastating for her credibility. And it's exactly the kind of evidence her opponents will hammer in court. Just when you thought this couldn't get more bizarre, there's a website bombshell shaking things up. Blake's team previously accused certain individuals, including Melissa Nathan and others, of being behind a website that allegedly defamed her, but newly obtained hosting records reveal that the site was actually linked to Courtney Engel, a former employee of JonesWorks who left the company in 2023. This completely undercuts Blake's previous accusations and raises serious questions about the accuracy of her claims. If she's been publicly pointing fingers at people who had nothing to do with this site, it doesn't just weaken her legal case, it damages her reputation even further. For someone already facing criticism for dragging over 100 content creators into her lawsuit, this revelation makes the entire situation look sloppy, overreaching, and perhaps even vindictive. At this point, critics are asking, is Blake targeting the right people, or is she just casting a wide net to intimidate anyone who dares criticize her? Either way, this misstep could have serious consequences in court, and in the court of public opinion. So what does all this mean? On one hand, Blake Lively's lawsuit has exposed the ugly reality of Hollywood power struggles, where public image, creative control, and legal battles all collide. On the other, it raises troubling questions about free speech and the limits of celebrity influence. If social media interactions can be weaponized as evidence, if content creators can be subpoenaed en masse, what does that mean for the rest of us? Critics argue that this case isn't just about harassment or retaliation, it's about controlling the narrative and silencing dissent. And that's a slippery slope for anyone who values open discussion online. Meanwhile, her opponents are gaining momentum, strategically positioning themselves to dismantle her claims before they ever reach a jury. Whether you support Blake or not, this case is shaping up to be a cautionary tale about how quickly a high-profile lawsuit can spiral into a PR nightmare. Blake's legal gamble has created a ticking time bomb. If the court sides with Wayfair and the other defendants, large portions of her case could be dismissed permanently. And let's be real, once that happens, the public narrative shifts dramatically. Instead of being a wronged actress fighting for justice, Blake risks becoming a cautionary example of how lawsuits can backfire when they're poorly executed. Meanwhile, the text messages, the website revelations, and the shaky legal arguments are all piling up, making her second amended complaint look more like a desperate salvage attempt than a strong legal strategy. What's next? Likely a flurry of motions, more subpoenas, and even nastier PR battles. But one thing is clear. This isn't just a fight about what happened on a film set. It's about power, reputation, and control. And everyone involved knows it.